Make it loud for Nick Ross. Give it up for Nick Ross.
So when I was 25, I had kind of the perfect storm of events happen in my life to get a tattoo over. I left my hometown of Denver, Colorado, and moved to New York City. My dad left my mom after 29 years of marriage, and I got an email from a close friend of mine in college that had an attached image. And this friend of mine was designing t-shirts in Portland, and he sent me this image. And he was like, hey, I did this design based on that play you wrote in college. And I was like, oh, that's great. And the play that I wrote in college was dedicated to my friend that died, the first sort of closest proximity to death as a young person that I had. All of those events tore me up, and when I saw this image, it really encapsulated everything. It was this sort of woodblock print looking marionette cutting his own strings. It was super poetic, and I was like, for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my God, that's my tattoo. I have to get this tattoo. I just didn't know what to do then. And I was waiting tables at this kind of nice restaurant in Union Square, and this cool couple came in. They both had beautiful tattoos all over their arms. And I, midway through dinner, I was like, hey, how do you get a tattoo? I told them the story. I was like, how do you go about getting a tattoo? And the woman leans over and she's like, I don't let anyone touch my skin with a needle except for this guy. And the boyfriend hands me this card. His name's Scott. He has a little tattoo parlor in Brooklyn. And I thought that this was perfect. And we arranged to get this tattoo over the Christmas holiday, the first Christmas that my mom was coming out to visit me in New York as a single lady. And it was amazing. It had everything. It had the meaning, it had the execution, it had everything. And I think in the 10 years since that, I have wanted to get another tattoo, but nothing has quite lined up. I had all the kind of meaningful life experiences, but nothing lined up as poetically as that first experience. A couple years after I got that tattoo, I got cancer. And after a year of chemo, tattoo was sort of on the brain. I was like, I got to commemorate this. I beat this amazing disease. And I kept on thinking about these images of like medical stuff, or like for a while I started thinking about like a very detailed kind of medical depiction of a tumor, and then I was like, oh my God, like I'm so glad I didn't pull the trigger, because like they're hard to get out of your body. I didn't want to like put it back on my body. And then I moved from New York to LA, and then I ended a very long relationship, an engagement. And then my father passed, and I feel like that really destroyed me. He was kind of my captain in life. And I got really transfixed on hawk, on the imagery of a hawk. He had this spiritual relationship with hawks. He would point him out. He really liked pointing him out in urban settings. He'd be like, urban hawk, that's a red-tailed hawk. Look at that hawk up there. And so every time I see a hawk now, I think of my dad, but the imagery didn't translate. I kept on downloading all these pictures of hawks and hawk tattoos onto this folder that I labeled Hawk Tattoo on my desktop. And like the tattoos of guys with hawks just didn't translate. Like I didn't have what it takes to be a guy with a hawk tattoo. I couldn't imagine someone being like, hey, nice tattoo, what's that hawk all about? And being like, oh, this hawk reminds me of my dad. Like I couldn't do it. And then I'm walking through, about a year ago, I'm walking through my neighborhood in LA, and I see this poster for an art gallery called Whole Glory, which is this sort of, it's like an art exhibition, but at the centerpiece of this art exhibition is a glory hole. It's like an artistic way to say glory hole, whole glory. And it's by Scott Campbell, that same Scott that tattooed my arm 10 years ago in Brooklyn at his little tattoo shop. And now he's this sort of big deal tattoo artist. And I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. You know, like here I am fretting over like how to get my second tattoo, and all these people are gonna go and like stick their arm in a glory hole, so I wanna go check it out. But he's only doing it for a weekend, for like 3 days, and they're picking a handful of people to get a glory hole tattoo. And so the only time I can go is Friday morning at 10 a.m. because the event is over the weekend, but I'm out of town at a wedding on Saturday, Sunday. So I go Friday morning at 10 a.m. There's a line around the block. It's really exciting, and as you go in, you get your raffle ticket, and you look at the visual art, and at the center of this exhibit is just this like fence with a black hole right in front of you. And I was like, wow, people are gonna stick their arm in that hole and get a tattoo. And then the guy gets on the bullhorn and he's like, okay, I'm gonna draw 3 numbers of the people that are gonna get their tattoos today. And the first number he draws is mine. And I was shocked. I didn't expect to get the glory hole tattoo. I wanted to go and be like, wow, these people are really motivated. And so I have to come to terms with this, and I'm thinking as I'm like signing these waivers and people are taking photographs of me, and I'm like, I don't know if I can go through with this. And I try to like come up with the reasons, and I was like, I had so much reason going to that first tattoo, and maybe that was like young, that was my first time in life that life really beat me up, and subsequently like life just beats you up over and over and over again. And I'm like not really into having that right on the surface anymore. And this glory hole to me kind of represented optimism. I was like, optimism is kind of what I want on the surface. Because if I put my arm in this hole, I just got to accept what comes out. And so I put my arm in this hole, and an hour and a half later, I came out with a really detailed skull. And then a kind of childlike rose coming out of it. And it's awesome. It's beautiful. It's like got kind of theater overtones, and it's like life and death, all this duality of man. And now I'm that guy who people are like, whoa, that's a sweet skull tattoo. And I'm like, yeah, I got it in a glory hole.